Welcome to my 5-minute overview of trying to build Ben Eater's 8-bit computer. This is the first register specifically. Here we are just getting all the stuff out. Trying to get the LEDs, lots of red LEDs here. I'm working through trying to figure out which chips I'm looking at. Picking out the right ones. The bottom two are the actual registers. The one I'm putting in right now Eater calls a buffer chip. I actually forget exactly what it is. In this video, we're going to be doing a lot of wiring. Wiring and then failing to wire. So here I am doing all the grounds and the positives. Now we're getting the LEDs in. Here we're connecting the clock between the two register chips. And now we're connecting the enable pins in. Now we're doing the inputs and the outputs from the register chips to the buffer. And after adding some temporary wires, this is what we look like. And that moves us on to debugging. And I'd say the biggest problem with this build for me was figuring out how I built it wrong. As you're seeing here, I'm trying to figure out what is exactly going on, and I'm not being very successful. In a second, I'm going to figure it out, and I'll let you hear my actual reaction when I do. Yeah, that chip is burning. Cool. Well, so there's clearly some sort of short. And you trying to make it pretty. You definitely set yourself up for that. So I decided to take out all my handmade jump wires and just go to pre-made ones, hoping that that'll help me be able to see what's wrong better. Doing this fixes my short problem and helps expose a voltage control problem. You see that here? Pull this out. What should happen is that these LEDs should get transferred to these LEDs. When I pull it out, oh, flashy. So with some confidence there, I decide it's time to start cutting new wires again, because these pre-made wires that I have are just a little bit too bulky, and honestly I'd use almost all the ones that I had at home. I decided that I'm going to cut just constant lengths. And the first pass through I tried to make them all as clean and neat as Ben Eater does, and I decided that I don't actually need that. Actually, in his course video he explicitly says that you don't need it, and I probably should have listened to him. So I decided to go with this approach where all the wires are the same length, but they're also a little bit shorter than the wires that I had from someone else making. And the wire is actually thin enough and firm enough that you can see pretty well, so I think it's going to be okay. This project really was a lot of wiring and cutting wire and trimming wire. I kept thinking about how I need to make some sort of jig so that I can do this better, but I think in the end it works out okay. So with the wires in, I decided to add this breadboard to the bottom so that I can move my LEDs to jump to another negative ground. And this negative ground, I'm going to put a resistor into the ground line, which is why the LEDs need to be on their own so that nothing else has that resistor in it. And I'm hoping that that'll solve my problem. And connecting the register up to the test board and then up to the clock. So with that, we can load in some information from the bus with that clock pulse there. As you can see, those two LEDs are off. And if you look at the yellow LEDs, they have some black wires to ground, which is great. We will disable that, and we will enable moving them. They're flickering here because I forgot to take the wires off the ground up near the yellow LEDs. But that resistor really helped solve the problem. So that's great.